أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله وعلى أهل بيتك الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين المظلومين صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وأناخت برحلك عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. For the love of Fatima al-Zahra, please recite aloud salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal farajahum wal'an adahum.
The only path to salvation is the path that conjoins the Book of God, His message to humanity, with the progeny of the Prophet. The progeny of the Prophet are the Prophet's legacy, the continuation of his legacy. And these two are inseparable. And these are not my words. These are the words of none other than the Prophet himself. Last night, we examined some of the common features between the Quran and Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And we illustrated how these two serve the same purpose and strive to achieve the same goal. The first point was that the Quran is sinless, and in the past no one was able to disprove the Quran, and no one will ever be able to disprove the Quran. Not even one single statement by the Quran could be proven wrong, and this is a challenge that stands till today. The Quran is a book of facts. لا ريب فيه. No doubt surrounds the Quran whatsoever. And to put things into perspective, I mentioned the example of how for decades people used to think from the medical community that consuming a certain amount of alcohol was safe. But now this notion was debunked. And just today, I read an article about how for decades people used to think that taking one pill of aspirin is good for the people who are vulnerable, people who are prone to strokes and heart attacks. But today, in a landmark study that was conducted by Australian and American researchers, they realized and revealed that aspirin is not only not healthy for especially old people, but it could be detrimental to their health, causing internal bleeding. So there is an issue of reliability here. Studies conducted by scientists, funded by governments, that involve thousands of people, that take several years to conduct, is now debunked. But with respect to the Quran is a book of facts. Similarly, Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam represent the truth and nothing but the truth. And he is the epitome of divine morality. The second point that we mentioned last night was that you can't put an expiry date on the Quran. The Quran is alive, the Quran is lively, and every verse in the Quran is also alive. The Quran doesn't have an expiry date, because the Quran puts forth parables that are always relevant, that are always applicable to our lives. And I cited the example of a phenomenon that is mentioned in the Quran, the phenomenon of Fir'aun, and how a person that feels he or she is above the law and cannot be held accountable and punished for his deeds and actions will behave like a human beast. If untamed, this is a natural disposition, a natural tendency that humans have. This is why the narration says that every human being conceals what Pharaoh displayed. What Fir'aun did was, he said, I am the Lord of the Lords. We all have this tendency. If we are untamed, whether it's an internal deterrent that we have, for example, moral values that we adhere by, or religious values that we subscribe to, which is the main deterrent, or an external deterrent imposed on us, like the authorities, the government, the police, that would restrict our movement and not let us do what we desire to do. The hadith says that if you want to marry off your daughter to someone, make sure that person is God conscious. Make sure that that person fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 4, if he likes his wife, he will show her love and affection and care about her. But if he dislikes his wife, doesn't love his wife, because of his adherence to his principles, because of his adherence to religion, that person will not oppress his wife. Otherwise, if untamed, we have this natural tendency to behave like a beast. I'm sure some of the youth sitting here, they don't abide by the age restriction with respect to some of these famous video games that have a lot of violence, like Grand Theft Auto V and Fortnite Battle Royale. You know, with these games, when you feel that you're Superman, you're invincible, no one can destroy you, no one can kill you, and you have all the weapons that you need, especially when you use all the cheats in GTA, what you do is you shoot a pedestrian with a bazooka in his head to blow up his head. You see a car that you like, you stop that car, open the door, give the driver a couple of punches, and take his car. This reflects a tendency that we all have. And this is a real life story of people that see themselves above the law. The hadith says, "Man amina al-uquba asa al-adab." Whoever sees himself immune from punishment will behave like an animal. Did you know that the son of Saddam, the president of Iraq, he had a son, his name was Uday. He would go in the street, and if he sees a car that he likes, he will straight away confiscate the car. If he sees a woman that he desires, he will not hesitate to rape that woman, even if it was in front of her father or her husband. The Iraqi ambassador once revealed, he said that one day, it was in front of a general a high-ranking general in the army of Saddam, Uday, looked at his daughter and he liked her. She looked attractive, she looked beautiful. He raped her in the car in front of her father. He couldn't care less because his father is Saddam and no one can punish him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about a phenomenon that keeps repeating itself. If you feel yourself above the law, you behave this way. This is a natural disposition that we all have. Similarly, with respect to the story of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam, as I mentioned, when you study the life of the people of Kufa, they had the same set of desires, aspirations, and the way they thought was like the way we think today. If we go down the same road, we will find ourselves in the same position that they found themselves in. Did you know these people thought that they loved the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam? And maybe deep down in their heart they loved the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. But because of their attachment to this world, they couldn't be detached from this world. The hadith says, حُبُّ الدُّنْيَا رَأْسُ كُلِّ خَطِيئَةٍ. The obsession with this life, the attachment to this world, is the source for every misery and the source for every sin. Imam al-Hussain sat with Umar ibn Sa'd twice in private. He said, Ya Umar ibn Sa'd, you know me, you know my father. You used to attend my father's speeches in the Grand Mosque of Kufa. He's related to Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. You know that I am the grandson of Rasulullah. What was Umar ibn Sa'd's response? He said, if I defect, if I leave my position and join you, I have a house in Kufa. The authorities will demolish the house. So his attachment to his house, to his possessions, to this world, resulted in him siding with the oppressors and eventually killing the master of the youth of paradise. While when we examine the life of the companions of Imam al-Hussain, we will realize that for us to succeed in life, to pass in this test, we need to have two things. And without these two things, we will be like the people of Kufa. What are these two things? First of all, patience. We cannot sidestep this rule. We simply cannot do that. The hadith says that the relationship between patience and Iman is like the relationship between the head and the body. If you separate the head from the body, you will die. And if you don't have patience in life, you can't say that I want to become religious, but I don't want to be patient in any way. And we have three types of patience. Patience in the face of tragedies. God forbid, when you lose a loved one, you need to have patience. And this is how God will reward you. And patience in the face of your obligations, your duties. And patience in the face of temptations, resisting your temptations. You need to have patience. In life, to achieve anything, you need to have patience. And number two, you need to make sacrifices. Yes, at the expense of your prosperity, at the expense of your material gains, you need to make sacrifices in order for you to pass the major test in life. I'm not saying that the sacrifices that you need to make are like the sacrifices that were made by the companions of Imam al-Hussain. They turned a blind eye on everything that they had, from their children to their family, to their house, branches, horses, money, what have you. And they chose to side with Abu Abdullah. What I'm trying to say is that you need to have the same sacrificial spirit, so that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts you in a position where you need to make sacrifices, you would be able to make the sacrifices. One of the reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed upon us religious tax is because this will lessen our attachment to this world. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in one verse, وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ. And whoever can break free from the shackles of his self, these people are the ones that will succeed in life. How? By giving the religious tax that you need to give. So sacrifice and patience. And these are things that we need. And this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will test us, the same way He tested the people in the past. We also said that the Quran cannot be destroyed, and Imam al-Hussain is indestructible. Even if the entire world come together to extinguish the light of Imam al-Hussain, they will fail. They have failed in the past and they will fail in the future. And if they were ever able to extinguish the light of Hussein, then that means they have defeated God, and this will never happen. Number 4, the Quran gives glad tidings, good news to the believers, and gives warnings to the disbelievers. Brothers and sisters, life is tough. Life is not easy. We have to face a lot of challenges in life. We have to overcome a lot of challenges in life. And we have to face a lot of pressures in life. And without divine backing, we can never overcome these challenges. We need reassurances. We need guarantees. Guarantees of what? When you are religious, you have to make compromises. You will incur losses in life. So you need guarantees that somehow you will be compensated for these losses. Right? And the Quran gives us these reassurances and these guarantees. What does the Quran say? The Quran says, وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. The outcome will eventually be in favor of those people who are God conscious, who fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Quran also says, وَلَا يَغُرَّنَّكَ تَقَلُّبَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فِي الْبِلَادِ. Don't be lured and deceived by those people who do not believe in God, and you see them prosper. You see them successful in life. They have money. They are living it up. Do not be deceived by them, because they will be disappointed. One day, this life will come to an end. This life is transient, brothers and sisters. And these people will be disappointed. While Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will please you. These are reassurances that we need, and the Quran comforts us by giving us these reassurances. Similarly, Imam al-Hussain gives us a lot of hope. Gives us confidence in God. Imam al-Hussain instills in our hearts the reliance in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How so? Imam al-Hussain taught us that if you're with God, God is going to be with you. Whether it's a challenge in regards to your hijab, in regards to you resisting your urges and impulses and temptations in life, as long as you're with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God is going to be with you. And God is going to compensate you. We recite this in one of the supplications. We say, Ya man la tadhi'u 'indahu al-wada'i'. If you entrust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with something, Allah is trustworthy. Ya radda ma qad fat. You think that you're losing, right? Don't worry about your losses. Whether it's with respect to your relationships, or it's with respect to your wealth, or your social status, Allah will take care of everything as long as you're with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who would have ever thought that a 3-year-old girl waking up in the middle of the night, crying and asking her relatives, her auntie, to join her father, to meet with her father, waking up the tyrant of the time. And back then, the Umayyads, their government, their empire was the strongest empire in the world. Who would have ever thought that their empire would be toppled, and no one ever mentions the Umayyads anymore, except when you want to curse them, while the shrine of this 3-year-old girl is now a beacon of light and visited by millions of people every year. Who would have ever thought that a lonely man, standing alone, besieged by his enemies, would be remembered by hundreds of millions of people around the world? Presidents of countries, prime ministers that don't adhere to this religion, they are honored to attend a program that pertains to Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. He gives us hope. What Imam al-Hussain teaches us is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in charge. So try to please Him and none other than Him. He gives us glad tidings like the Quran, and He warns those people that want to be like the people of Kufa. Look at what happened to them. Where are they? They perished. And they are in eternal damnation right now. Number 4, the Quran says that if the jinn population and the entire human race come together to come up with something like the Quran, a single verse in the Quran, they would never be able to do so. Similarly, Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam is unmatched. You cannot find someone like Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. His valor, his dedication, his devotion, his bravery. Someone said that I saw him in the battlefield while he was charging at his enemies like a roaring lion. He said, I've never seen someone who witnessed the killing of his children, his brothers, his 6-month-old infant as courageous as this man. And everyone was fleeing away from him. Never seen someone like him. When he first met with his enemies, the first battalion that came under the command of Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi, they were thirsty. They were his enemies. They prevented him from going to Kufa. And yet when the Imam met with them, he himself would give them water with his own blessed hands. He carries the container and quenches the thirst of the soldiers that had come to kill him. And he told his companions not only to quench the thirst of the horses, but splash water on their faces. Yes, these same enemies that deprived the Imam and his children from water. In the middle of the battlefield, he was fighting with someone. The Imam managed to strike that guy with his sword, severing one of his legs. So the guy fell, but the guy was scared. He was frightened because he thought the Imam will come and kill him. So the Imam said, "You need anything? You seem frightened." He said, "Yes. Can you ask my people to come and rescue me from you?" He said, "Yes." So he called his tribe Bani Tamim to come and take him. Have you seen someone like him? Have you seen someone so forgiving like Hussain? One of our scholars, his name is Sheikh Ja'far al-Tustari, an erudite, a great scholar. He's buried near the shrine of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. He used to go to the grave of Abu Abdullah, hold the dharih and say, "Ya Abu Abdullah, I want to ask you something. I want you not to forgive Shimr ibn Dhil-Jawshi, because this guy, he instigated fear in the hearts of the Fatimites, of the women and children of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam." They said, "Could the Imam do that?" He said, "If Shimr comes like Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi and asks for forgiveness, who knows?" The Imam would never do that, because Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi repented before his death. But he said that the Imam has such a big heart that the moment Hurr said, "Halli min tawbah," the Imam doesn't rub it in his face. "You did this, you did that." "In tubt, tab Allah alayk." Number 5, Everything that we need until the Day of Judgment is present in the Quran. Allah says so. وَلَقَدْ صَرَّفْنَا فِي هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ مِنْ كُلِّ مَثَلٍ. Every parable that you need, every problem that you face, you can find the solution in the Quran. But you have to utilize it. You have to seek guidance from the Quran. Similarly, if you have Hussain, you have everything. If you believe in Hussain, if you seek guidance from Abu Abdullah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide you. This story has all the elements that you need to seek guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why the Imam and his story caters to every age group. We have inspirational stories for the children. The 10-year-old kid, that little boy comes to the Imam on the day of Ashura. He says to the Imam, would you give me permission while he was wearing his armor and carrying a sword and a shield? He said, Ya Abu Abdullah, would you give me permission to go to the battlefield and fight? The Imam looked at him. The sword was taller than him. So the Imam said that maybe his mother wouldn't want him to go to the battlefield because his father was killed recently. Take him back to the tent. So he looked at the Imam and he said, Ya Abu Abdullah, إن أمي هي التي ألبستني لامة حربي. My mother helped me wear my armor. Look at their sacrifice. What does it take for a mother to do this? But look at their loyalty to the Imam. And this is a question that we need to ask ourselves. What have I done for the Imam? The first step that you need to take is to make a decision not to commit a sin. That's the first step. And then you need to ask yourself this question: what have I done for the Imam? What have I done for the Imam? And anything that you do for the Imam, you're doing it for your own good. So the Imam gives him permission to go to the battlefield. It was customary that the people would go and introduce themselves. Why? Because sometimes if you were someone that come from a prominent tribe, your peer needs to come and fight with you. Someone either superior to you or someone equal to you. That was customary back then. أنا علي بن الحسين بن علي إني أنا العباس أغدو بالسقا. They used to introduce themselves. إن تنكروني فأنا نجل الحسن. But this kid, you know how he introduced himself? He identified himself through Hussain. You don't need to know who I am. This is why historians still today don't know the name of that boy. He said, Amiri Husaynun wa ni'mal amir. My emir, my prince is Hussain. And what a prince. Sururu fu'ad al-bashir al-nadhir. He is the delight of the eyes of the Prophet. Aliyun wa Fatimatun walidah. His parents are Ali and Fatima. فَهَلْ تَعْلَمُونَ لَهُ مِن نَظِيرٍ. Do you know anyone equal to Hussain? Then they killed him. They severed his head. Look at these vicious animals. They threw his head back to the tent. His mother comes and carries the head of her son, wipes off the blood from his face. And she says that on the day of judgment, if I meet with Fatima al-Zahra, I have a proof of my loyalty. You made my face luminous when I meet Fatima al-Zahra. Then she wasn't content with that. She wanted to give more. So she goes to the tent. She takes the pole of the tent. She goes to the battlefield and began reciting, أَنَا عَجُوزٌ سَيِّدِي ضَعِيفٌ. O Master, O Abu Abdullah, I'm a frail old lady. أَضْرِبُكُمْ بِضَرْبَةٍ عَنِيفَةٍ. I want to fight with you. دون بني فاطمة الشريفة, because I want to defend the children of Fatima. The Imam is alone. The 10-year-old kid. These are inspirational stories for everyone. His message is universal. That's why his story conquers the hearts and the minds of everyone. The newlywed convert. He converted to Islam just days before Ashura, and he's newlywed. A young newlywed Christian that had converted to Islam. On the day of Ashura, he goes to the battlefield. Unbelievable. His wife begs him. His wife says to him that, you want to leave me? And we just got married, I'll be widowed. His mother says to him, don't worry, don't listen to her. And usually a mother cares more about her son than a wife would care about her husband. Look at their loyalty. Don't listen to her, go to the battlefield. He goes to the battlefield, he fights, then he comes back. He says, mother, are you content? She said, no, 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 until you are killed. I want to face Fatima al-Zahra on the day of judgment and say that I gave my son in defense of your son. So he goes back to the battlefield and he fights. All of a sudden he sees his wife. She comes to the battlefield and she's saying, قاتل دون الطيبين. Fight in defense of the purified ones. He looks at her, amazed. He says, moments ago, you were saying that you were telling me, you were dissuading me from fighting, and now you're encouraging me to fight. She said, إِنَّ وَعِيَةَ الْحُسَيْنِ كَسَرَتْ قَلْبِي. The heart-wrenching plea of Imam al-Hussain broke my heart. Go and fight courageously until you are killed. Then they kill him. They kill him. She comes, sits beside him. And then she began to dye her hair with his blood. Shimr ibn al-Jawshan had a slave called Durayd. He tells Durayd to go and kill her. So he strikes her with the spear in her back, and she was the first woman to be killed on the day of Ashura. Their loyalty was unmatched. Brothers and sisters, a man comes to the Imam and he defends the Imam on the day of Ashura as the Imam prayed. You know how they defended the Imam? You know how they defended the Imam? He would shield the Imam from the attacks, from the swords, from the arrows, from the spears. You know how? Not with the shield. كان يتلقى الرمح والسهم بوجهه وبصدره. They would shield the Imam with their face, with their chest. He brings his chest to the front, to the fore, so that the spear would pierce his chest instead of the Imam. And then when he falls, after the Imam finishes his prayer, the Imam comes and he wants to comfort him, to give him solace, and tell him that you're going to paradise before me. He looks at the Imam and he says, أَوَفَيْتِ يَا أَبَا عَبْدِ اللَّهِ. Was I loyal enough to you, O Aba Abdullah? Imam says, نَعَمْ أَنْتَ أَمَامِي فِي الْجَنَّةِ. That slave, black slave, he comes to the Imam, he says to him, Ibn Rasulullah, I want to go to the battlefield. The Imam said, why? These people want to kill me, they have nothing to do with you. If you leave, no one's going to chase you. He said, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, I was with you, I lived with you, I want to die with you, I want to be with you on the day of judgment. So the Imam agrees, he goes to the battlefield. As he falls, his face is covered with blood, his eyes is covered with blood. Suddenly he sees someone approaching. He puts his cheek on his cheek. So he thinks to himself that no one knows me. I don't have any relatives here. Who would do this to me? Suddenly he opens his eyes and he finds the cheek of Aba Abdullah on his cheek. So he smiles and says, Man mithli wabnu bint Rasulillah wadi'an khaddahu ala khaddi. Who is like me when the grandson of Rasulullah is placing his cheek on my cheek? And this is the same treatment that Aliyun al-Akbar received. So the Imam equates between his son and the black slave. If you're loyal to your Imam, the Imam shows you the same level of affection, the same level of love. I don't want to take much of your time, but the story of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam is an inspirational story. Anyone that hears the story of Imam al-Hussain is inspired. Because I want to finish this speech tonight about the common features between Imam al-Hussain and the Quran, I'll mention two more points. So the sixth point is that the Quran was abandoned. And it's mentioned in the Quran, on the day of judgment, the Prophet will come and say, إِنَّ قَوْمِ اتَّخَذُوا هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ مَهْجُورًا. Oh God, my nation abandoned the Quran. You might ask that we see thousands, hundreds of millions of Muslims, they recite the Quran. Why is it that the Prophet will complain on the Day of Judgment? Again, because the Quran comes with the Ahlul Bayt. And since they abandoned the Ahlul Bayt, then they have abandoned the Quran. And also, do we really adhere to the teachings of the Quran? When the Quran tells us to forgive, when the Quran tells us to pardon, the Quran tells the Prophet to pardon his enemies. You know who his enemies were? The killer of Hamza, the dearest uncle of Rasulullah. The Prophet forgave him. The Prophet pardoned him. And yet when it comes to us, I have a problem with my brother, with my cousin, with my friend, with people I share the same faith with. Am I following the Quran? Similarly, Imam al-Hussain was abandoned during his time, and even now Imam al-Hussain is abandoned. What is the issue with this disunity? Why aren't we following Imam al-Hussain and the teachings of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam? He pardoned Hur, his enemy. Why don't we pardon the people that have wronged us? Number 7, the Quran delivers guidance. Inna hadha al-Quran yahdi. The Quran delivers guidance. There are 4,600 satellites orbiting the earth. What the Quran does is something that all these satellites cannot do, by delivering guidance to humanity. But we need to seek the guidance from the Quran. The hadith says anyone that utilizes the Quran will provide all the answers to their problems. Everything is found in the Quran. Similarly, Imam al-Hussain guides us to the right path. Imam al-Hussain came with his 6-month-old infant on the day of Ashura. You know why? Because there were people that were oblivious of the truth. They didn't know that Imam al-Hussain represents the truth. So he would bring his 6-month-old infant. They would kill him so that maybe some people will realize that the Umayyads, these are crooks. These are people that sided with falsehood. These are people that don't believe in God. Wake up. So Imam al-Hussain's message is a universal message of guidance. As-salamu ala al-Hussain wa ala Ali ibn al-Hussain wa ala أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. امام سجاد می‌فرمایند که عصر عاشورا بریز بودن آقا امام سجاد، وارد خیمه شدند، یه نگاهی به پدر انداخت. He said blood was gushing from his wounds moments before his death. گفت بابا جان حبیب کو؟ گفت حبیب شهید شد. بابا جان زهیر کو؟ زهیر شهید شد. بابا جان عموم ابوالفضل کو؟ گفت شهید شد. گفت بابا جان برادرم علی اکبر کو؟ He was always with his father. Ali al-Akbar would never leave his father. So his father said, let me tell you one thing. Oh son, از مردا فقط من و تو زنده ایم. بار الها این سرم این پیکرم. این علمدار رشید اکبرم، این سکینه، این رقیه، این رباب، این عروس دست و پا از خون خضاب، این تن عریان میان خاک و خون، این سو این ذکر یا رب یا ربم، این من و این ناله های زینبم، ای حسین جانم، حسین جانم، حسین جان. He went to the battlefield when he was all alone. He called out, Ya Muslim ibn Aqil. کجایی ای مسلم ابن عقیل؟ یا حبیب ابن مظاهر، یا مسلم ابن عوسجه، یا زهیر ابن القین، یا بریر، مالی انادیکم فلا تجیبون. چرا صداتون میزنم چرا جواب نمیدید؟ آیا خوابید؟ بیدار بشید. وادفعوا عن حرم الرسول الطغام اللئام، پشید از خاندان رسالت دفاع کنید. ام حالت منیتکم دون امامکم، یا اینکه شهادت شما مانع شده از اینکه امامتون را یاری کنید. یکی میگه به والله I saw the corpses of the martyrs, they are shivering and quivering as if they want to get up again to defend their مولا ابا عبدالله. مادر ندارد شاهی که تنها مانده و لشکر ندارد، آنقدر زخمیست جایی برای بوس بر پیکر ندارد. در بین گودال افتاده و عمامه ای بر سر ندارد. ایوا حسینا، ایوا غریبا، ایوا مظلوما. میدید زینب اما چنین در خاک و خون باور ندارم. دورش شلوغ است حالا که تنها مانده و یاور ندارد. میگفت زینب شاید قاتل همراهش خنجر ندارد. ایوا حسینا با گریه می گفت ای کاش می شد پیراهن را در نیارد. گودال تنگ است صحرا مگر جایی از این بهتر ندارد. بر روی سینه نیزه مزن وقتی که او پسر ندارد. کشتید اما چرا دگر انگشت و انگشتر ندارد. ایوا حسینا، أيوا غریبا أيوا شهیدا میگفت دشمن کارش تمام است او که آب آور ندارن با کی نمیزد میگفت فرقی با حیدر ندارد یک سور و باب است بیچاره تنها مانده و پسر ندارد و حسینا یا حمید بحق محمد ويا عالي بحق علي ويا فاطر بحق فاطمة ويا محسن بحق الحسن ويا قديم الإحسان بحق الحسين والأئمة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين فرج عنا يا الله عجل لوليك الفرج والعافية والنصر واجعل فرجنا مع فرجه يا كريم يا أرحم الراحمين استجب دعانا اقض حوائجنا حوائج المؤمنين والمؤمنات وارحم موتانا وموتى المؤمنين والمؤمنات اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه قل أنت في هذه وفي كل وليا وقائدا ودليلا حتى وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. الفاتحة مع الصلوات.